The National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has stated that, let me get their statement very clearly. The head of NAPTIP in Oyo State, Mr. Augustine Akanya, made the declaration on Wednesday, August 21st in Ibadan that he was speaking at a town hall meeting organized by Adinya Arise Foundation, and he said that the challenges of trafficking is being compounded by mothers who are involved in majority of the human trafficking cases that he has treated within the state. He said that the role of parents in human trafficking is enormous, and he advised that parents are playing major role. He said that it has become a cause of concern that many parents borrow money from financial institutions to support their children to travel. They are encouraging parents not to allow human trafficking in the state anymore. If you want to travel, go through the necessary documents and travel safely. But looking at this story, you cannot help but link it with the fact that some parents have seen their children as their source of livelihood. So that's why a parent would want to make the investment to ensure that the child gets into a better country or a country where they can be able to make money to send back home. Nima, I know you've taken a few stories of relocation gone wrong. I remember a few years back, you were always talking about how people will say they are going to go and work in this Saudi Arabia. There was another Middle East, all these Middle Eastern countries where they would...
Libya, Oman.
They would say they are going under a different guise. And then the next thing you find out is their passports will be seized. It is actually sexual exploitation, sometimes even organ harvesting. And to now find that parents are actually complicit in this happening, and it's not just a thing of one particular region. We are hearing it concerning Oyo State. What's your opinion?
It's always been Oyo. Oyo is not...
it's not new.
It's not new. Oyo has been as old as time, and they believe in Oyo and Kwara that, any Larubawa country is abroad. It's emancipation. They believe that because the Arabic language is the language of Islam, that their children are going to see people closer to God. But they get to Oman, they don't find human rights laws existing for foreigners. They get over there, they have no embassy to run to. They get there and they are, they're not just trafficked, they are sold on a website, registered website. It is legit, they do those things there. It takes the help of God for you to get out. Even in Dubai, where they have some kind of laws. They have those websites existing. The stories have come out from, abuses in Dubai. In Saudi Arabia, their stories have come out. So I've always said, relocating, it is with knowledge that you will relocate. It's not every country that they use passport and plane to get to. That's abroad. People have, distorted things. And we used to hear of, the Benin, Italy, the Calabar, Italy, all of those things, and think that such did not exist. The one in Oyo and Kwara has been, and Oshun has been as old as time.
Because they're not going to Italy, doesn't mean it's not happening.
Exactly. After a while, they don't hear from the relative, all of them just sit down. You see the girls do videos secretly of their abuses. And a friend of mine was a medical doctor in Saudi, and he was recounting how many black girls were abused. There was one with full fire-borne wounds all over her, dumped in the front of the hospital for help, and nobody claimed, no investigation followed. We'll have stories coming out from these countries of, people being pushed off buildings. You are working in a high-rise building as a maid, and your guy vex, he throw you down.
Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
so yes, and we see our government doing as much as they can to inform our people of how dangerous it is to, to migrate to certain places. We come around and abuse them, that is the country good, and you're telling me to not go, as if it is better to go to fall inside fire than, to stay in the frying pan. I don't get it. You're choosing, you're saying no, when you're frustrated, you come out, you shout at government, and then you dare the devil. A friend, I did assist someone back from Libya in the past, and he sold his bakery. So you have a business.
sold his bakery to go to Libya.
And it was not about government. He had competition. So somebody had more money and invested in another bakery near his own of a bigger one. Size. But by this time, you had your logistics in place. It's just that your place was not as big. And so you thought, okay, if I go and earn foreign currency, I'll have the kind of money he has to expand. Rather than do the expansion, you know what's funny? When we now get there, we wait to.
Yes.
Businesses don't actually grow as we think.
As rapidly as...
so we wait, we build, we save. And to give the money quick value, what you earn there, you don't really invest there if you want to think about it. You bring it back home because it will have value here when you compare the Naira to it. And then you now come and use it to do the big investment back home. So really, what are we saying? Are we really thinking through these things, and the consequences that our people go through? What breaks my heart the most? I've stopped consuming certain things because of my mental health. So before, it used to be popping up. The agencies where people are allowed the WhatsApp, I used to, and then I say, nobody will vex me at home, I will just be vexed. I'll be in a place.
You were carrying that matter. She was carrying that matter on her head. So almost every day on the show, she was always coming to talk about it.
It wasn't healthy anymore. So these days, you can send me a WhatsApp as concerned as, I've read it, but I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to feed it. I'm not in the place for it at the time, so I won't even look at it. Reason is because I need to help my
emotions to be okay before you can help another person get okay. I want to ask you concerning the involvement of parents. Because as a mother, you would be wondering, your job is to protect. So why would mothers traffic their children?
That's what I'm saying is that the government, we shouldn't blame the government totally. The mothers that even permit these kids to go on this kind of journey, knowing fully well, because I know most of the time they educate them, they tell them how these things run and all of that. I know that sometimes maybe some mothers, they have friends who their daughters have already gone, and the daughters are already sending, money and everything, and those ones will be like, this is what my daughter did and all. So they will encourage their daughters to go and, for things like that. My worry is that where the government needs to play is, these girls, they go to do passport for them. Most times, these girls are underage girls. When they do passport, is it that the government is not looking, taking note of all of those things, number one. Then number two, they pass through immigrations before they get on the plane. So are we trying to say that
sometimes they don't go through plane? Oh. These are not plane people, though.
How do they go on? They go by road.
They go by road.
Most of them is by road.
Then they take off from another country.
No, they go by road. That's illegal.
There's a very high percentage of them dying on this journey. The states that this head of NAPTIP in Oyo State mentioned the countries where they've been having reports, because they brought back some girls, Lebanon, Oman, Libya, and other Middle Eastern countries. They said that Nigeria does not even have an embassy in Oman, and so there is no way you can get any form of reprieve if you find yourself stuck in that country and something bad happens to you. And yet, our mothers in Oyo are borrowing money to send their children on a journey that might not have return. That's why we're discussing it now.
It's a bad talk with laughter. Like I always say, you understand? When God gives you a Oroburuku, you're still shocking with laughter. Because I just think that a lot of parents do not value the children they have. And it starts with the realization that it's a kind of terrain, it's a kind of tradition that I think they impose on you to give birth. I think you are being cajoled. If it's not directly imposition, you're being cajoled, you're being coerced. That, your mates are giving birth. How do you even know somebody that really wants to have a child? It starts from there. It starts from that education of, until we realize that some of these things are not compulsory, before we begin to forge ahead and look better in the light of a better future. Because how do you explain a mother who went through the 9 months of pregnancy? Okay, today I'm saying my son is 2 years old. How do you expect me in another few years' time to begin to think of how to damage the boy's life? It's unheard of. So I would not even say that probably is the government. The government has little role to play. It starts with family. No, little role in the sense that if you don't go, you won't give government problem to how to look up for how to retrieve your child. I have a close friend whom I remember my friend. She slept in my house that day, and she was telling me about this. Oh, they said they'll go from Kano, and the way she portrayed it, I said, see, you see this Morocco, see Spain, my dear. I thought that point I played, that is akuna that they are going to use you people to do. I don't know how to hide my mouth. I'm sorry. And I remember that then. Okay.
Sorry, I'll continue with your story. You see, I've heard that thing, see Morocco, see Spain. I've not heard it in a long time. When I heard it when I was a teenager, and my mom was telling me that time that, oh, Morocco and Spain are not, they're not brothers and sisters. Let me take Pius. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Mario. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning. My sister, when I come out of TVC News, normally watch you, my Malayo and the rest program. Issue of outside country, travel outside country, my sister, is the economy of the country. People, we used to see Togo and Ghana shipping to Nigeria. Well, today now, you cannot see any developed country where the economy is okay. It will not come to Nigeria, no, unless it come for business. Because of economy, okay, today now, look at currency. It's the poorest currency in the world. I can say me, I have business, I'm free. A year to a year, my sister. This way to if you ever worry call, as when I've used last week, when worry call 250, now this in $150. Before I didn't live where because of the economy, where everything is cheap. But today now, because of the economy, where we work here, we just work for hand to match. But economy is poor as well. I'm too big because I have 5 children, I cannot tell my company and move. That's bad because I cannot move again. But my company, anything is patriot, I will reflect.
Thank you so much, Pius. Pius has brought us to the part of government. When you were saying that government has small, in my head, I was looking at it that if your house is comfortable, you might not necessarily relocate from your house. But if your house is not comfortable, you might. But you were saying the story about...
Like I was saying, the story of my friend, very close friend. We've been friends for over 14 years. So, and it was one of the things why I actually distanced myself from her. So having told me all the stories, and I said, see, you know what, you have 2 sewing machines. You had trained on being a tailor. I said, most of my outfits, like, okay, let's say we do a collaboration as your friend. Most of my outfits, I wear Nigerian made mostly. Because I'll say, how much will I begin to invest in one big international brand before they even recognize me? Do you understand? So I said, okay, we can start this collaboration. I'll pay you for it. I will be doing it gradually. Boom, I didn't see her again. Only for me to check Facebook like a few months later, and I saw her caption. I can't forget, enjoying the life of my head in Tripoli. Yes, if she's hearing me now, she'll know. And I saw that the background of where she took the picture was like a sardine shop, a provision store. In my head, I'm like, excuse my language, show me dancing. Why can't you cuckoo sell provision in Nigeria where you know that at least you can relate with your fellow people? And fast forward, so she didn't communicate. About 2 months later, I saw one gory... how do I put it now? One gory film on this thing. It was actually an adult X-rated on how they use them. 2 weeks after I saw that video, she called me and she said she started lamenting. They wanted to sell them. That the person who brought them over, I think there was their fee was supposed to be ₦1 million, but when they got there, the person said 1.6, and you know they have to work to pay that money first before they are even giving their passport or release. And I'm sorry, I told her, I'd rather use my money to help people who really need it, other than you who came to my house, who I told the business plan. I encourage you to just keep pushing this thing in fashion designing, because I believe that after hunger is clothes. Nobody will walk on the street naked, except you are, at least, you know that you're a Yaba left patient. So you will have prospects. But I just saw that fast money laziness in her hands.
Yes, fast money.
Do you understand? When she came back after 2 years, she came back to ground zero. Wow. As in ground zero.
So she didn't
even come back with anything.
She didn't come back with, and it took me 2 full years to be able to ask her about her experience. And the day she was actually sharing it, we were in my house again. And I was literally weeping for her. The way they went from Kano, they packed them like 11 or 12 of them inside one small car. And you know, there was one video that trended that like 16 people came out. It was true life. And she said, oh, she remembered that she got on board with some people from Kano and they had died after like few days. They got to this point. And I was just looking at her like this. So this relates back to some of these parents.
Yeah. But do you know if she gets the opportunity, she'll do it again?
She will do it again.
I think
she will do it again.
If Evelyn is still there, if Evelyn is still there, I'll take Evelyn's call. Evelyn has called from Ikorodu. Welcome to the show. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I wish to drop my opinion concerning this topic because I believe that there is no mother who have a valid information about what their children is going to go through and will allow them to go through that situation. Now, I just came back from UK and I saw how our children who have gone on educational fees are suffering over that place. And I asked myself, why are these other children not in Nigeria to go through what our children are going through over there? And it goes back to our government, how they do not care for their children. They don't care for the youth of this country because if they do, no parent will sell his bakery or his house to pursue an unknown career over in another man's land. So please, we should not just sit down and say things that it looks as if we mother, we don't care for our children. We are only looking for a better future for these children. Unfortunately, they might not turn out what we expected because they do not have the valid information about what these children will eventually go through where you are sending them. So it is not an easy thing for you to borrow money for a child because you said when this child's life gets better, it will also be better for you. We need to do something.
Thank you so much, Madam Evelyn.
Right.
Thank you so much, Madam Evelyn.